Have you ever had one of those moments? A single, tiny event that just sends your entire day into a catastrophic spiral. For a young man named Ayan, that moment came at exactly 6:10 a.m. He'd just missed his bus. As he stood there, gasping for breath, watching the taillights vanish into traffic, he felt this crushing weight settle over him. He thought his day was over. He had no idea. It was just beginning. This is a story about how our most frustrating moments are sometimes just life, pointing us in a whole new direction. It's about a man who got pushed back only to be launched forward.
6:09 and 30 seconds. His world was just fragments. The harsh slap of his running shoes on the pavement, the fire in his lungs, screaming for more air than the morning had to offer. The clumsy jostle of his shoulder bag, its contents jabbing his side. 45 seconds. The street corner, once so far away, was now agonizingly close. He could see it. The big blue and white frame of the 6:10 a.m. express, its lights a beacon of both hope and doom. 55 seconds. The hydraulic hiss of the brakes was the sound of a closing door. He saw it begin to shut. A final, desperate surge of adrenaline shot him forward, his hand outstretched in a silent plea. But it was too late. The doors sealed with a soft, indifferent puff. With a low groan, the bus pulled away, taking every last shred of his hope with it. To understand just how big a deal that missed bus was, you have to understand the world Ayan was desperately trying to catch up to. His life, to put it mildly, was painted in shades of gray. Every morning, Monday to Friday, he'd wake up before the sun with a quiet sense of dread. That bus wasn't some chariot carrying him to his dreams. It was a shuttle, taking him from his quiet, dissatisfying apartment to his loud, fluorescent-lit personal purgatory. He was a data entry clerk for a huge, faceless corporation. His kingdom was a small, beige cubicle in a sea of identical boxes. His throne was a worn-out ergonomic chair that had given up on being ergonomic years ago. He spent 8 hours a day, every day, moving numbers from one spreadsheet to another. He was a cog in a giant machine, and he knew it, a tiny, replaceable part. But it wasn't always supposed to be this way. Tucked away under his bed, collecting dust, was a stack of old sketchbooks. They weren't filled with numbers. They were filled with lines, curves, and angles. They were the ghosts of a different Ayan, a younger guy who dreamed in blueprints and saw poetry in skylines. He was passionate about architecture. He didn't just want to build buildings, he wanted to create spaces that felt alive, spaces that could make people feel something. That dream now felt like a memory from someone else's life. The realities of rent, bills, and that gnawing fear of instability had slowly choked him out. The sketchbooks were closed, the pencils put away. The dream was filed under unrealistic. His job, the one he was now late for, was the anchor keeping him from financial ruin, but it was also the anchor pinning him to the bottom of the ocean. So, when he stood on that corner, watching the 6:10 bus disappear, it wasn't just about being late. It was a gut-punch confirmation of every negative thought he had about himself. It felt like a symbol for his entire life. Always running, always chasing, and always, in the end, arriving just a second too late. The missed bus felt like a verdict, and the sentence was failure. The first thing he felt was just hot, white anger. A scream of frustration got stuck in his throat. His fists clenched so tight, his knuckles turned white. He kicked the bus stop sign, a totally futile act that just sent a painful jolt up his leg and did nothing to calm the storm inside him. Then, just as quickly as it came, The anger vanished, leaving behind a cold, heavy fog of despair. The downward spiral began. It was a familiar feeling, one negative thought calling to all its friends. Of course I missed it. Why would today be any different? Then the other thoughts piled on. I can't even do this one simple thing right. Just get to the bus on time. A child could do it. He pictured how it would play out. The groveling email to his supervisor, full of weak excuses. He could already feel the sting of his boss's short, condescending reply. He imagined walking into the office an hour late, feeling all the judgmental eyes on him. The docked pay was a practical problem, but it was the shame that felt the most expensive. He could just wait for the next bus, the 6:40 a.m. local, the slow one, the one that stopped at every corner and was always packed with a miserable-looking crowd. But the thought of it was crushing. It felt like giving in, like getting back in line for another dose of mediocrity. No. He turned away from the bus stop and just started walking, with no destination in mind. It was a walk of surrender. The city, usually just a blur on his commute, came into sharp, painful focus. The roar of traffic was the sound of the world moving on without him. He felt totally, crushingly alone. His aimless wandering led him down quieter side streets, until he found himself at the gates of a small city park he'd passed 1,000 times but never actually entered. Today, its silence was calling to him. He walked in and found an empty bench, far from the entrance, and just collapsed onto it. He buried his face in his hands. The day was ruined. His life was ruined. And it all started with one missed bus. He sat there for what felt like forever, just stewing in his own misery. The only sound that broke through was the gentle cooing of pigeons. Finally, he let out a long, shuddering sigh, a sound that carried the full weight of his frustration. That's a heavy sigh for such a bright morning. The voice was calm and steady. Ayan lifted his head, startled. On the next bench over sat an old man. He didn't look magical or anything. He just looked like he belonged there, under the big oak tree. He had kind eyes and held a small, worn sketchbook. Feeling a little exposed, Ayan got defensive. "Sorry, am I bothering you?" The old man just smiled. "Not at all, but a sigh like that carries a story. It sounded like you're carrying something a lot heavier than that bag." Something about the man's genuine tone disarmed Ayan, and the words just came tumbling out. "I missed my bus. My whole day is ruined. I'm going to be late. My boss is going to be mad. It's just a disaster," he finished, feeling kind of stupid for unloading on a total stranger. The old man just listened patiently. He didn't say, "Don't worry," or "It'll be okay." Instead, he just tilted his head and asked a simple question that cut through all of Ayan's noise. "Ruined?" he asked softly. "Or just redirected?" Ayan stared, confused. "What's the difference? I didn't get where I needed to go." "Ah," the old man said, a knowing look in his eyes. "But that assumes you were headed in the right direction in the first place." He paused. "Have you ever watched an archer?" The question was so random, it caught Ayan off guard. "An archer? Not really. Why?" "Well," the old man began, "to make an arrow fly forward, to give it the power to hit a target hundreds of feet away, what's the very first thing the archer has to do?" Ayan thought for a second. "He has to pull it back, I guess?" "Exactly," the old man nodded. "He has to pull it back. He draws the bowstring, creating all this tension. The arrow itself actually moves backward, further away from its target. From the arrow's point of view, it must feel like a total failure. It's going in the completely wrong direction. It feels the strain, the pressure, the backward motion. It must feel like it's losing." He leaned in a little, but the archer, who sees the bigger picture, knows the truth. That backward motion isn't a retreat. It's the gathering of potential. It's the source of all the power. The further back the arrow is drawn, the greater the tension, and the more powerful its flight will be when it's finally released. The old man let that sink in for a moment. You feel like you've been pulled back this morning. You missed your bus, you're here on this bench feeling defeated. You think you're moving away from your target. But what if this isn't a punishment? What if the universe isn't mad at you? What if it's just drawing the bow? What if all this tension you feel isn't a sign that you're failing, but it's just the prelude to your release? What if it's just aiming you? He added one last thought, his voice almost a whisper. The arrow can't see the target. It only feels the tension. It has to trust the archer. Maybe your job isn't to fight the pullback. Maybe it's to trust the aim, even when all you can feel is the strain.
And with that, the old man said nothing more. He gave Ayan another small, knowing smile, closed his sketchbook, got up, and walked away, leaving Ayan alone with an idea that was as terrifying as it was liberating. It's aiming you. The words echoed in the quiet park. It was like a key turning a lock he didn't even know was there. He looked at his situation through this new lens. A missed bus, a ruined day, a failure. He'd seen it as a dead end. The old man made him wonder, what if it was an off-ramp to somewhere better? A wave of something he hadn't felt in years washed over him. Clarity. That bus, that job he was late for, was that really his target? Or was it just the direction he'd been running out of habit and fear? He'd been fighting so hard to get to a place he didn't even want to be. For the first time, he realized the universe hadn't blocked his path, it had cleared it. A new question took root. If he wasn't meant to be on that bus, where was he meant to go? He stood up from the bench, feeling a new kind of energy. Not the frantic panic from his morning run, but a quiet, humming sense of purpose. He thought about those dusty sketchbooks under his bed. He thought about the boy who loved buildings. An image popped into his head. The city's central public library. It was this magnificent old building he'd always admired from the bus window, but had never once stepped inside. It was a few miles away, a long walk. But for the first time that day, he had a real destination. He walked with his shoulders back and his head up. When he finally pushed open the library's heavy bronze doors, it felt like crossing a threshold. The air inside was cool and smelled of old paper and limitless possibilities. He walked right past fiction and history and went straight for the shelves marked 720, Architecture. He ran his fingers along the spines of the books, the names, Wright, Gaudi, Hadid, sending a jolt through him. He pulled a heavy book from the shelf, sat down at a long oak table, and opened it. The day he thought was ruined was spent in absolute awe. He devoured book after book, his old passion roaring back to life like a starved fire finally getting oxygen. On a napkin from the library cafe, he started to sketch. A simple curve, then a bold line, then another. It was clumsy and hesitant, but it was there. His dream wasn't dead. It was just dormant, waiting for a moment of stillness. It had been waiting for a missed bus.
A year later, Ayan still caught a bus every morning, but it wasn't going to the soul-crushing data entry job. He'd walked out of that library a different man. He didn't quit his job the next day. The pullback had taught him patience, but he had started a new journey. He enrolled in night classes for architectural design. His days were still spent in the gray cubicle, but now he saw it as the funding for his escape. The monotonous work became a kind of discipline, fueling his real passion at night. 5 years later, the cubicle was a distant memory. Ayan stood on a muddy construction site with a hard hat on his head and a set of blueprints in his hand. The air buzzed with the sounds of creation. He was an architect, and he was overseeing the construction of a new community center, with a public library at its heart and a small, quiet park right next to it. A space designed for connection, for chance encounters, for people to find a moment of peace. He looked up at the steel skeleton of the building, the framework of his dream made real, and smiled. From the street, he heard the familiar hiss of a city bus. He watched the passengers get on and off, each on their own journey, each facing their own pullbacks. He thought back to that morning 5 years ago, to that crushing feeling of defeat on the street corner. The old man was right. He hadn't been pushed back. He had been aimed. Missing the bus wasn't the event that ruined his day. It was the event that made his life. The setback wasn't an obstacle on his path. It was the beginning of his true path. Sometimes, life slams a door in your face not to punish you, but to make you walk down a hallway you never knew existed. In a way, we're all a bit like Ayan. We're all running to catch buses we're not even sure we want to be on. We dread those moments of delay, of failure, of being pulled back. But Ayan's story is a reminder of the archer's wisdom. Life's biggest setbacks are often just life pulling us back, aiming us, and getting us ready for our greatest launch. The tension is temporary. The redirection is a gift. So, what missed bus in your life turned out to be a profound redirection? What moment of seeming failure was actually life aiming you toward a better target? If this story resonated with you, let us know in the comments below. Share a time when a setback became a setup for something incredible. And for more stories to challenge your perspective, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who might just need to hear this message today. Trust the aim.